It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I am very well, thank you. Very happy to be here, and I'd like to be here again. Thank you.
All right. Very good to have you on the show, of course.
Thank you very much.
All right. And tonight, we're very happy to be showcasing 3 more of our listener songs as answers to our songwriting challenge for 2023, to write a song in an unusual mode.
Indeed.
Before we get to that, send your comments and questions too at Song Talk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mentioned, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. And this week, of course, we had our monthly Song Talk meetup. This week it was live in person at the Transact Club in downtown Toronto. I hosted it just a couple of days ago. Had a good little turnout, about 10 people or so. So it was nice and intimate, and a couple of new faces and a lot of familiar faces, which was pretty good. Pretty much everyone shared a song. There were a couple of newbies that, weren't quite ready to share something, which is perfectly cool. You're always welcome to come to the meetup and just hang out and contribute to the conversations and stuff. You don't necessarily have to share a song.
That's what I did when I first came. I actually I sat there and listened because I had no idea what the format was like or what you had to do. And so that's a great way of just coming to sort of see what the situation is like. And then the next time I presented a song, and I think you were there actually that time.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, and anything goes. We had a first timer who was amazing. She contributed to the conversation all the way through, and
nice,
and shared her own song and everything. And my friend Nabil was there, and he actually had 2 songs to share, even though he only played one, but then he played like the beginning of the second one, because his concept is like an album where the songs sort of flow together and thematically join together, and there's an A part and a B part, and sort of, it's kind of interesting to see someone, start to construct something that's, bigger than just one song, and kind of a thematic conceptual thing happening. It's kind of cool. But yeah, it was great. I actually shared my my updated version of our songwriting challenge song, of which I've, since the meetup, I got little chicken scratches on my own notes, and some other people made notes, which is very handy for handing out lyric sheets, so people can scratch their own notes on your lyric sheet, and you take them back and you see what they had to say about your song. And so, I don't know, my verses have just been like, I've revamped them so many times now. Like from demolished and ground up, demolished and rebuilt, demolished and rebuilt. So
I hope you haven't changed the shoelaces bit, because that is so hooky.
No, I went back to the shoelaces. Yeah, and which I agree is a much stronger hook. But I'll be honest. I mean, twice at the meetup now, I've heard people say that shoelaces is a thing, but most people just say laces. And the fact that I'm referring to old shoelaces, then it should be old laces, not shoelaces. And I'm not sure about that notion.
I don't think, that might be true, but I don't think the line doesn't scan as well.
No.
Shoelaces runs off the tongue much better than old shoelaces.
Or old laces, because if I want to keep the same syllable count, then it's, give me my old laces.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, like old lace, like the consonant friction doesn't quite roll as well as shoelaces.
Yeah, shoelaces is definitely
shoelaces. You got a vowel bumping up against the consonant, which is smooth.
Oh yeah, no, it's a wonderful line. So
yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, but it's just the verses, the content of the verses, the storytelling of the verses. Keep flip flopping and kind of just going back to, what I feel is maybe the most interesting thing to say.
Yeah.
But otherwise it was an awesome meetup. It went, it was pretty short actually. I still gave everyone, good 12, 15 minutes for each person. And still we got through like 7 people, and we still had time to chit chat at the end and hang out and stuff. So
that is so nice. Yeah. There's the in-person meetings were so great. You really got to meet people. You got to know them. Online is fantastic, and it's great to meet have people who come to every online meetup, and they're from all over the world.
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Amazing.
But it's, being able to sit down and have a beverage with someone is pretty special.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. The Translac treats us really well. They give us that room, the space for free.
Yeah.
And they're really good to us. So I always encourage people to buy a drink and share a drink. And yeah, and people are even asking, like, how does this work when you guys do it online? Like, online, to be honest, we get more recordings.
Yeah.
Very few people can play live. Although it is a lot easier. You literally in Zoom just turn your original sound for musicians on, and you're good to go.
That is true. That is the big difference.
Live. Yeah. And they didn't have that. Like when the pandemic first started, they didn't have that quickie button. You had to go into the settings and change like 3 different things. Now it's just one switch, very easy, and it's much better that way. But,
like it even says for musicians.
Yeah, exactly. It says for musicians. Like they knew where all the complaints were coming from.
Yeah.
Sure.
You gotta hand it to Zoom. They've actually been very responsive. When they first came out, you could record every attendee's audio as a separate stream, which is very good for us podcasters. Mm-hmm. The problem is that if someone didn't talk for a while, it would stop recording and then automatically start recording afterwards. So I think if after a while, all the streams would be out of sync. And I wrote them an email and said, this is stupid. The only person who would want to use this is people who want these things in sync. And they actually said, oh, that's an interesting point. And I don't know if it was me who... It was me. I'm going to say it was me who caused the change. And you can all send me $5 to thank me for that change. And well worth it, I think.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, that was a very welcome change. Because if you're recording multiple streams, you got to have it all start at 0.
Yeah. Very much.
All right. And you had a little something to...
Yes. Well, moving to another province, a faraway province, is a bit of a drag because, I don't get to go to the in-person meetups. And, my network of the people I know, I get to talk to, but I talk to them on Zoom, and it is not the same. But I was very excited to find out that Matthew Reed, one of our guests who've been on many times, was actually in town providing live music for a acrobatic art piece.
Wow.
There is every year in St. John's, there is a circus week. They have all these circus performers from all over the world. And Matthew was sent out some emails and on Facebook, and he said, hey, I'm going to be in town. You want to get together? So went and saw his production, which was really good.
Cool.
And it was great. Matthew's been a co-host a few times and been a guest a few times, and a very talented professional musician and songwriter. He does a lot of music for theater and scoring and stuff.
Yeah, he's a composer as well.
Yeah. So really, really neat stuff. So that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That's nice to see. So everyone out there, you can stop by St. John's, by plane, it's not so far.
Mm-hmm.
By car, it's quite far.
By car, it's a little ways out there for sure.
It is, yes.
It's about as east as you can get in Canada.
Literally, just down the street is as far east as you can get, actually, in Canada.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. All right. And speaking of people from all over the world, our awesome listeners, we got another batch of our listener songs for the Songwriting Challenge, and it's so cool to see everyone own up to this challenge and try playing around in modes, because I know, it's always, it's been a scary thing for a lot of people, I think. It's like, modes, no.
Oh, yeah.
Not easy to breach that subject with a lot of songwriters.
Oh, it is. I think it's been a struggle for people, but that's kind of the whole point, is to struggle to... 'cause it's so easy as songwriters to sort of go, well, this is too hard. I'm just going to do what I know how to do, because it's going to be successful. Mm-hmm. And pushing yourself to do something which may not be successful is very good for you, but it's kind of like exercise. It's easier thought of than done.
For sure. And I think part of the reason that it's scary for a lot of people is a lot of people tend to consider their lyrical content as the driver of the tone of the song. But of course, tone notes
Yeah.
and your melody choices and intervals and things like that are also, it's a little more ethereal. You can't point to a particular phrase or word and say this is, a very emotional thing. You can point to a chord change and go, wow, that really hit me.
Yeah, that's true.
It made me feel a certain way. I can't really put it into words how it made me feel, but it is there, and it certainly gives you a feel. I mean, the listener answers today. We sort of saved the darker modes for this episode. The first episode of listener songs tend to be a little closer to major or minor, or whatever. But a couple of the listener songs that we're sharing today dared to go into Phrygian, which is pretty dark mode, most notably used by like heavy metal bands, and really dark stuff, right? So it's interesting, the answers that a couple of them came up with. So
yeah, these are great songs too.
Yeah, and they're fantastic songs. So looking forward to this. So we're going to start with Victor Hathaway. And he wrote to us and said, please find attached lyric PDF and MP3 my answer to the 2023 challenge. I would be honored to be considered. It's in D Phrygian with a possible unintended modulation to B flat Ionian, which is major, in the last verse. My theory is weak here. All the chords belong to D Phrygian, but it feels like the tonal center has shifted. So he's talking about that last verse where it feels like it just goes back into major. I chose Phrygian because I had never used it before, and also because of its storied rep for being dark, in quotes. I think David Bennett rates it as the darkest mode after Locrian. David Bennett's one of the really popular YouTubers. It's a favorite among death metal bands, I hear. Adam Neely, another awesome YouTuber, got 4 or 5 other YouTubers together for a challenge to write a happy song in Phrygian. I didn't try to write a happy song, but I wondered if I could catch a sense of darkness that wasn't evil or satanic. I think there are varieties of darkness besides the absence of light, the way that the world seems luminous in a different way after your eyes have gone from cone mode day vision to rod mode night vision. One sees the dark in another light, as it were. This was a fruitful exercise for me as a composer because it scrambled my notions of melody and my usual bag of tricks for setting harmony, as the chord sequence has different functions. I started with a chord progression and went through several melodic lines and grooves until the present one, revolving around the characteristic note E flat, finally coalesced out of the dark, dragging a theme in tow. Fiat looks. Note, the Humane Society has certified that no Goths were sacrificed to Cthulhu in the making of this song. That was a great post-text to his thing. So yeah, so if you're, so Phrygian, the remarkable thing about Phrygian is the flat 2, right? Your so second note is your second. In every other mode except for Phrygian and Locrian, your number 2 is a tone away from your root note. Right. If you're in D, then you're going to an E. But here you're going from a D, your second note in the scale is an E flat. Right? So it's a really dissonant interval to play with.
So the 2 is flat, the 3 is flat, and the 5 is, I think... the
5 is natural.
No, I think the 5 is diminished, isn't it?
The 5 chord is diminished, but in the scale,
it's 5 is diminished. 5. And then the 7th is flat.
The 7th is flat.
No, the 6 is flat, and then the 7th is flat.
Yeah.
Right.
The 6 is a major chord. The 7 is a minor chord.
So in C, it would start off with C minor. So it's minor. The 2 is major. The 3 is major. The 4 and the 5 are minor, with minor third. The 6 is major and the 7 is minor.
Yeah.
So in C, it would be C minor, D sharp, D flat major.
D flat, yeah.
D flat major, E flat major 7. And then the 4 would be the F minor. And then the 5 would be the G diminished.
Diminished, yeah.
And then the 6 would be A flat. And then the 7 would be B flat minor.
B flat minor, yeah.
So the 2 and the 3 and the 6 and the 7 are flat. Right.
Yeah.
And the minors are 1, 4, and 5. Well, 1, 4, seven,
4 and 7.
five.
Yeah.
5 is diminished, but
Well, 5 is diminished, so
yeah.
kind of bracket that. I don't think Victor used a diminished chord in his song.
Yeah. Well, diminished chords are weird. They're hard to work with, but
They are. I've used them in the past as a passing chord mostly.
yeah.
You don't order augmented chord. You use it as a passing to go from one thing to another thing. You don't really dwell on it for too long because it gets weird.
Yeah.
But but like his opening chord progression in his song is D minor, C minor. Right?
Yeah.
So he's going from the 1 to the 7, and they're both minors. So that's definitely pulling out a bit of that Phrygian quality.
Yeah.
I think. But it's when he uses because it's in D minor or D Phrygian, when he starts incorporating the E flat major chord, that's when it really starts feeling a little more
Yeah.
Phrygian.
And that's, again, a tip with working in modes is to consciously hit those altered notes of the scale.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, when you go to from the D minor to the C minor chord, the third in the C minor chord is that E flat note.
Yes.
So he is incorporating that tone.
Yes.
In the chord, and I haven't investigated the melody that closely, but it feels like it's in his melody too, quite frankly.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's take a listen.
All right, "Vanishing Point" by Victor Hathaway.
I am a shadow that flickers around your flame. You shape me out of darkness because your light not only shines, it dances. I am the weather that tumbles beneath your sky. You roll me out of vapor because your breath not only moves, it quickens. In utmost stillness, memory flickers, a shimmering field of sound and vision, a storm of images and a cloud of unknowing, because your mind not only keeps, it dreams, it dreams. Am I awake? Do I dream? What do I know? What can I believe? What must I remember before I can learn? In every moment I am reborn. I am the shape around your form.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, that was "Vanishing Point" by Victor Hathaway.
I really like that because even though it is a dark and somewhat challenging mode, it didn't sound like it didn't sound clashy, and it didn't sound, like sometimes when you try unusual chord choices, it can sound jarring and forced, and this doesn't sound jarring or forced. It's really good. It reminded me a bit of Psychedelic Furs. I was trying to actually go for something like this and went with mine, but I love his line, "I am the weather that tumbles beneath your sky."
Yeah.
That is such a great metaphor,
Yeah. There's a lot of great imagery here. Roll me out of vapor, because your breath not only moves like storm of imagery. Yeah, it's just great stuff. It's really interesting how smooth it is, and the use of the ukulele in, it's almost like, okay, death metal fans, I'm going to do this on ukulele.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in Phrygian, because you could imagine this song might even work like as a heavy metal song.
Oh yeah, definitely could.
Right? If you did that kind of dressing on it, then it could certainly work like that, because you get the oddness of the melodies in the first verse, but once your ears attuned to where he's going with the mode and the unusual intervals, after that it just sort of feels like it belongs, right?
That's true, and it's I think we're always talking about, when you write a song, it's good to take it onto another instrument, because other instruments have different kinds of voicing. If you're doing this on a guitar, like D minor and C minor are, like the D minor is higher than the C minor. So they go da, 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 and that has a certain feel to it. But because he's doing it on, on a uke, is that the voicings are different. So the C minor sounds kind of brighter than it would on the guitar, which would sound down.
Right.
So that kind of gives it a bit of lightness as well, which, you wouldn't get if you were doing this on a guitar. So
interesting, yeah.
It's, ukuleles are cheap and they're fun to play and it's easy to learn. So it's great to sort of take your songs and do it on the piano, even if you just play block chords or do it on a ukulele, to kind of hear different voicings you wouldn't normally do, because we tend to sort of do the same voicings all the time. I mean, hell, I do. Especially guitar players, we do a bar chord and just move it up and down the neck.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was always, even when I'm writing on piano, like I'm always mindful of what the top note is, right? That kind of drives the melody shape of the piano riff, whatever it is. So you're always being mindful of what that top note is. But yeah, and then of course his last verse, where it does even lyrically, he gets a little bit brighter, right? Am I awake? Do I dream? What do I know? What can I believe?
That's a bridge, though, isn't it? Well, it felt like a bridge.
Well, it kind of is, but except that it's yeah, you know what? It is kind of a bridge, except it's not bridging to anywhere. It just ends. The song kind of ends after that. It kind of goes back to his instrumental opening riff. So in that sense, it is kind of a bridge. He called it his last verse, but I think you're right. It is very different. It's different enough to be called a bridge. But his contention was that he went back into B flat major, which he kind of does. Yeah. And interesting that. Which is fine, but the interesting thing too is almost all of the chords he's using there also exist in D Phrygian.
Yes.
Right. So they're all the same chords. It's just a matter of, the mode also is where your home base is. So you can still use the same chords that are in a mode, but if your home chord is the sixth chord, for instance, then it's going to maybe sound like it's in the major key of that degree, right? Yeah. So but 6 on 1 half does the other. But I really like the very end. I am the shape around your form. He went from E flat and an E flat minor. He went from the 4 major to the 4 minor. Something I've always wanted to do in a song, but I've never done that. I've heard it's more common than you think. Yeah. And just as a passing thing to sort of bring you back. Yeah. It's really nice. It's a really nice touch.
Yeah, it's great. I kind of wanted to hear it go back to the verse after his last verse, because to me it sounds more like a bridge, but and I like the verse a lot. So
yeah, and that's maybe why it may have been just an intuitive thing to bring it back to at least the instrumental of the verse.
Yes.
For like a little bit. But then he actually at the very end he gives a touch of brightness and flips the G minor into a G major.
Yeah.
Right.
That's nice. I love those things.
Which gives it a nice bright tone at the very end.
Yeah. It gives it some very gentle movement without it being too obvious. So it's nice.
Yeah. It's quite a, I don't even know if it's subtle necessarily, but it's soft.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Excellent stuff, Victor. Really
Great
cool
stuff.
Okay. Let's move on to Gerben Westerfeld. And Gerben wrote to us, said, I'm a loyal podcast listener, very inspiring. Thank you, Gerben. About the modes, I tried to figure out how to use modes. It's kind of hard to get a grip on it. In a way, it is simple. Play C major and start somewhere else in the scale. But then, ... this song is my take. I'm not sure how to look at it, but the verse changes a few times from major to minor. The song starts in C major, then changes to C minor, etc. The chorus changes to E minor or G minor. He's not really sure. Well, it's a great challenge anyway. About the song, I'm Dutch, but I think it doesn't make sense to write a song in Dutch. I tried English lyrics. Any weird Danglish? The song is about the feeling that you're in the wrong place or time. Everything is fine, but it seems better to leave. Somehow I think the mood of this song reflects this feeling. So Gerben, I think, is he's playing more with modal interchange. He's not definitively in one mode or another. Mm-hmm. He's really playing with like starting in major and then flipping a couple of the chords to B minor. You know, it's sort of like Victor was doing at the end of his song. He went from the 4 major and then moved to the 4 minor. You know, Victor's doing that just as a usual thing in his song. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, it is great. Here's a bit of random trivia. One of band I really liked, which I've not been able to find, but they're actually a Dutch band. Oh, and they're called Doomar.
Doomar. Okay.
And they were kind of like a reggae band. My friend had a tape,
really?
Tape from them back in the 80s or 90s, I think.
Wow. Okay.
And they were really great songs, and it was all in Dutch.
Huh.
And so they had a song called Dancing Natalie, which I think that was on the English part. But it was a great band. So anyone out there who knows what happened to Doomar or how I could get more of their music, I'd really like to know. They were
Try
really
eBay.
Cool. I've done a search. Well, because I also don't know how to spell it. Because it's I think it's DOE umlaut OE and then MAR. I think maybe, I don't know.
Oh, well, Gerben might be a resource for you to tap into.
That's right.
You may very well know. Okay.
That's right.
Should we take? Well, let's just talk about the chords a little bit. So in his verse, he's got C major 7, E flat major 7, which is, if you're in major, that's out of key. But then he goes to F major 7, which is in key with the C. But then he goes from F major to F minor. That same sort of move, the 4 major to 4 minor. And then in his chorus, he is quite definitively in E minor, A minor, D minor, G7. That's all pretty definitively in E minor. And that seems to be where his home chord is for that. So it's interesting. He's just sort of he's playing with modal interchange. He's just flipping a few majors and minors from their usual places, and he gets an interesting tonality out of it, I think. Yeah,
no, it's another great tune, I think.
All right, so let's take a listen. This is called "That's the Way It Is" by Gerben Westerveld.
Party's on and the children are getting tired. I get my head stuck in the garlands, and tonight it's too late, it's time to go. Some fall silent and really don't know. And that's the way it is. Everybody's dressed to the nines. Everybody's having a good time. It's time to go. Goodbye. Get lost in the mood I'm in. This happy accident that happened all over again. But it's too late. It's time to go. A last goodbye to someone I used to know. But that's the way it is. Everybody's dressed to the nines. Everybody's having a good time. It's time to go. Goodbye. But that's the way it is. And everybody's dressed to the nines. Everybody's having a good time. It's time to go.
Very cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it is by Gerben Westerveld. I love the chorus in this song. It is so smooth and cool. Like, oh man, such a great hooky melody. And
well, and what's great is, the way he's painting a picture in your mind with his words. Everybody is dressed to the nines, like you really have an idea that the music and the subject matter is very well tied together.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels like one thing, and it's just such a great, and I love that over those chords that he ends on and starts a song with. I think that's such a great, it's so melodically. So what's the mode of that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's if you don't consider the sevens for a moment, it's C, E flat, F, F minor, right? So it's kind of like he's throwing. I mean, you can say he's throwing a flat 3 in there with the E flat, except the C major chord has the E natural in it. So he's definitely modally interchanging. He's just flipping a thing here and there, and then F major and then F minor. So he's going, from a major third to a minor third. It's there's not, he's not definitively in one mode or another. He's just doing a little interchange.
Yeah, because Mixo has like a major 1 and then a minor. That's a diminished 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to find that it's in one
specific mode.
In one specific mode. He's flipping, which is fine too. I mean, that when we say playing around with modes, I mean, the challenge for me was to work in one mode, because this sort of thing, I do this all the time.
Yes.
I'll throw a E flat major into a C major progression just because I like this tone. Yeah. I think it's cool, right?
You like to be fancy.
I like to be fancy, and I like to have more chords in there, right? But here, like, it's okay to just, I mean, we even said at one point on the podcast that that's a good way to start, is just consider all the chords in your major chord progression and take one of them that's a major and flip it to minor. Take one of the minor chords and flip it to major and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all he's doing here, really. I mean, E flat seems a little out of place, but C major to E flat major is not the weirdest thing you can do.
No.
It's, I've done that before. It's a little out there, but again, like if you repeat it enough in your song, your listener will get used to it.
That is true, actually. Yeah, and it works well, and it's again not jarring at all.
Not jarring, very, very, very smooth. I love the way you included a little instrumental break right after the first chorus. You don't hear that very often anymore.
Yeah, I'm starting to appreciate that more. I know that's not that won't make it into a radio hit, but I think many of us aren't really concerned about that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and many of us curmudgeons like to hear those instrumental things.
That's true.
But it's just it goes with the vibe of the song. Like it's just we're taking our time. The verses are kind of spacious. They're not rushed.
Yeah.
The chorus does pick up a little bit in energy and sort of density.
Yeah.
But even that is still very smooth.
Beautiful song.
And you break into a little instrumental thing before you
absolutely great.
Very smooth. And no bridge. I don't really think it needs it.
No, it doesn't, because there's so much happening chordally and melodically that I think a bridge would just kind of be one more thing, and I think it would be too much.
Yeah.
And so you don't always have to have a bridge. It's just if you have maybe much more straightforward verses and straightforward choruses, a bridge really does need to cleanse the palate, where you don't need it in this song.
Yeah, and his verses are fairly long.
Yeah,
in terms of time, like they do take their time to get through, and there's 8 lines of lyric to get through, and it's it's a good, smooth moving, easygoing kind of piece. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is definitely a great really nice stuff.
Alrighty.
All right.
Okay, so we move on to Greg Fraser, our third and final.
Let's do that.
So Greg Fraser yields from Springfield, Illinois, and I don't know if that's where the Simpsons live. Hi, Neil and Phil. Yep. I've been listening to your podcast for the last 4 years or so, but this is my first time submitting something. This one changed a bit and became a little less modal than intended, but there are still some moments in there. The verses are in E minor, but I borrow the B6 from the major scale. The pre-chorus is in A Phrygian dominant, has both the A and the B flat chords in the progression. So A major, B flat major, which is kind of interesting. The chorus is in A minor, but borrows B flat from A Phrygian and the A7 and B7 from the A major scale. So he's borrowing all over the place, going all over the place. The bridge the bridge is in E minor, same as the verses, but borrows A7 and B7 from the major scale. So I think he tried to go into a mode, but couldn't help himself to open up to like the major 5 and that sort of thing. So,
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. And this is. In very high contrast to Gerben's song, he's got verse, chorus, pre-chorus, bridge. He's got everything in the song going on. It's a lot of stuff happening here.
But again, not a song that sounds jarring.
No, not at all. It all sounds like it's all well put together and nothing out of place and nothing weird. So,
because I think when most of us started writing songs, they often are, if you're trying to actively not do, rock and roll 1, 4, 5 things, they will be jarring. And none of the stuff we've had so far this year has been jarring. It's been very impressive.
Yeah, for sure. I like it. Okay, let's have a listen. I'm Coming Home by Greg Fraser.
My life has seen its end. Oh, my
Will the gates be open wide? Or will I be denied? Yeah. I've made mistakes. I never thought I'd pay the price. Those fleeting thoughts of sharing my stake to give more than take, they all went forgotten, yeah. And the stars look down on a life left unlived. The greatest sin there is. I'm coming home. I'm coming home, yeah. Will the gates be open wide? Or will I be denied? What was the point of all of this? What's left to believe? Looking down on my legacy, a trail of broken dreams. When trust and faith had one thing, and hope and only selfishness, love was left to waste. Surprised by the sudden end, never having made amends. What will be my fate? What will be my fate? And the stars, they look down on a life left unlived. Just a seed lost to the wind. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Will the gates be open wide? Or will I be denied? Yeah. Well, I'm coming home.
Nice.
Cool.
I love the groove.
Oh yeah.
It's got a great groove. Sometimes this kind of stuff can sound a bit plodding and a bit kind of square, for lack of a better word. You know, kind of. But this actually grooves all the way through, and it's got a great chorus. You know, especially on the Will the Gates Be Open Wide? It's like so hooky, and the pre-chorus is, yeah, what a great tune.
Yeah. I love how like every section of his song has something really interesting in it. Like the verse has got that awesome little minor riff thing. Really cool riff. Very simple, but very cool. And you're right. It's like I was counting it. It's like a 12/8 kind of groove. Like it's really,
Yeah.
you know, or everything's in triplets. Like it's got some movement to it, right? And then even his melodies in the verse, like "Fall at My Feet, Unresolved and Complete." You know, like there's staccato notes and there's legato notes, and it's, you know, like the phrases are all different melodic structures and stuff. Like there's a lot of variety.
Yeah, there really is.
Song.
But it
And
doesn't
then,
sound all over the place.
no, there is that one jarring moment in the pre-chorus where he changes time signature, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's really kind of bizarre.
Oh, is it like in the middle line there? Like in the
Yeah,
middle
as the star's
yeah.
looking down, and in the lyric sheet, he's got notators like G6, A, B flat, add E. It's three chords changing very quickly. It's bam, bam, bam,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And the best I could count it was like it's all in 12/8, but then that one little bar is like 8/8. It's like 8/8 notes instead of 12,
Okay.
and it's just for like one bar and 3 times in the pre-chorus, and I'm like, that is it really kind of throws you for a bit of a twist.
But I liked it because it wasn't jarring, but it kind of made you pay attention.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's so easy to do something that's weird and sticks out as being weird. That was just a little bit of a difference, which just kind of pulled you, which made you pay attention, which is the whole
It totally
idea.
makes you pay attention. It's like, oh, what was that? And then you get back into the groove
Yeah.
almost right away, right? And it's like, okay, that's really cool. But yeah, really strong chorus. I'm coming home. Like for all the complications of the verse and pre-chorus,
Yeah.
you know, I'm coming home. Very, very simple.
Yes.
Nice and F and F major, A minor, like very kind of.
And that's what makes it work, actually, is well, I mean, it's still not that simple a chorus, frankly.
No,
but
right. When the gates will open wide, the second half of the chorus gets a little twisted, but it's really cool.
But I think it is important to have the contrast if you're going to have a complicated verse and complicated pre-chorus, is that you need a simple chorus so people can kind of grasp onto it and then, you know, kind of sing along. That's really what the point of a chorus is, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the sort of, come on, we're all together in this, you know, together type thing.
Yeah, for sure. He's got way fewer words in the chorus and nice, simple, strong, sing-songy melody.
Yeah.
And just really solid. Really solid.
We have awesome listeners.
So what mode did he say he was working in here? Oh, he was all over the place. E minor, but borrowing this. Phrygian dominant, but borrowing that. A minor, borrowing this. E minor, borrowing something else. He's got to give back all these chords he's been borrowing.
I know.
What the heck? Borrowing on commission.
Chords are not free, you know, baby. Yeah, these are great tunes. Really.
Yeah. But like we say, like just because it's modal does not make it, you know, sound weird.
No, it doesn't actually.
All these songs just sound like they're together and they were intended to be this way, and that's it. You know, really.
Well, it was so interesting because we had last time Blair Packham was on the show, and we talked a bit about modes, and he said, he's a professional songwriter for TV and movies, and had hits and all that stuff, and he goes, I've never used modes. I don't really know them, so. You don't necessarily need to know them to be successful, but it's again another paint color in your palette that you can.
It's another it's another tool in your toolbox, and the whole point of this exercise is just to bring it to a little bit higher level consciousness.
Yes.
Than it was before, and and Blair, I remember talking about this on the podcast a while back. I saw a video of him. He was interviewed by some other YouTuber or something like that, talking about Last of the Red Hot Fools, where it's kind of a 1/4/5 song for the most part, but in the bridge they modally interchange into the parallel minor.
Right.
So he's done it.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was modally, he just thought, let's go to the minor here and go, do that. Yeah. It's kind of a cool little trick, right? Just because you don't label it as a modal thing.
Yeah, that's true. And, these exercises are great if you're suffering from writer's block. Because, especially if you're uninspired and going, I don't feel like writing anything, going through an exercise like this is a great way of getting out of your own head and not relying on what you've always done, and help you discover something new. You know, and again, it may not be the best song you've written, but it'll get things moving again, and that's
for sure.
the whole point. But
So how about for you? How about for you, Phil? Like, what has this whole exercise done for you and the way you think about things?
well, I actually understand modes now, where I didn't. I really didn't. I mean, I learned about them in school, and I knew they use them a lot in, Baroque music, which I love a lot listening to, but I did, sort of understand it at a deep level, and actually sitting down and exploring the modes and choosing one, and, forcing myself to use an approach, because I don't generally approach songs that way. I sort of come up with riffs, and then I do melodies, and that's it, and eventually scratch out some lyrics. Where this, made me really focus on thinking, okay, there's that, I think I did in Lydia, was it Dorian? I think it was Dorian.
Yours ended up in Dorian. You started in Lydian or something, didn't you? And then you eventually...
Yeah. And I, no, I think it was in Dorian. Yeah, no, I did in Dorian. And made a real point of a flat fourth. Anyways, but it's, I don't know what the hell I'm doing half the time. But anyways, it was great because it really did sort of open up my mind to exploring more of the modes. And I think I will again, because it is a really fun way of finding something new. And if you've been writing songs a long time, we kind of do the same sort of things, or we play the same sort of chords, and I do stuff on the piano, but now I sort of do the same things on piano. And this is a great way of doing different stuff, It's, I think it was in Lydian. I think it did in Lydian.
Yeah, I thought your whole thing was.
Yes.
I think you contemplated Lydian, and you contemplated Dorian, and you ended up back in Lydian.
Yes, yeah, I think it was in Lydian. Yeah, because it was. Yeah, because I think I hit the sharp 4.
Sharp 4.
Yes, that was it. But yeah, no, it was. It certainly helped me understand modes in a way. Now I could actually use modes and sort of somewhat confidently play with them. Certainly not a master of them, but at least I have some idea of how to use them. And I think there'll be something I use again. How about yourself? How does this whole thing made you?
Yeah, for me too. It sort of put the whole modal thing into a certain space in my head where it kind of makes sense. Especially that David Bennett video that's on our resource page about how he sort of looked at it in terms of brightness and darkness.
Yeah.
Right. Which really made a whole lot of sense to me. And since then I've been, thinking, even my song that I did in Mixolydian, I even said on the podcast, like, it's just like major, but it's a little bit smoother. Yeah. And it does sound like it. And so I'm getting my ear a little more attuned to those sorts of differences. Like, when you hear that really frictiony dissonance, then it might be Phrygian, it might be even Dorian, but it's a matter of degrees, and it's the sort of thing that, for forcing myself to stay within the one mode was an interesting exercise for me, because I am used to sort of bouncing around randomly almost.
Yeah.
With some, it not really random, but just like, I think this sounds cool, let's do it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But certainly doing it, forcing myself to work in one particular way, certainly, resulted in a certain type of song. And I was trying to write a classic rock song, and I think, for the most part, it's got to be harmonically pretty simple, and all live within the same chord palette and stuff, and that's what I kind of got. So I think I hit my goal.
Yeah.
Of what I was trying to do, and certainly learned something about how these modes work, and certainly it's raised more conscious in my mind, and for sure I'm going to be using it more in the future, because I always loved throwing lots of chords into my songs, so it's not going to be too much of a stretch. But maybe the next song I write, it'll be like you're saying about the songs or listener songs from tonight. Like, the trick is being weird without making it sound like it's weird.
Yes. Yeah, it's complicated, but it doesn't sound complicated. It doesn't sound difficult. you know. And I think one of the biggest things for me is, and I think a lot of people who are experienced and have been playing, many years of bands and been, songwriter and recorded and did the whole sort of thing. It's been a long time since I was at the point where I really didn't understand something. At this certain point, you can sort of work with someone, you don't know someone, they can sort of tell you something and you go, oh yeah, okay, I get it, because you have enough of experience to be able to pull stuff together. This was the first time in a long time where I've kind of gone back to when I was first starting out and I didn't understand anything. And you're just kind of going, oh, what is this? And you're stretching it, and because at first it doesn't make sense, and you're just kind of staring at it, going and watching these like YouTube things and going, okay, I guess. And it's so easy when you're experienced and you know what you're doing to not like that feeling and just go back to what you know, and because you can get it done. This is a great way of forcing myself into that uncomfortable point where I didn't understand, and it was a real struggle. And I just kind of going, okay. Like I was listening to the stuff and going, okay, I'll take it on faith. It doesn't make any sense to me, but now it does. But it's nice to be able to go back into that state. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's those sorts of things where you know what it is intellectually. But can you work with it in your songs? Like, can you actually work it in such a way that it feels organic and it feels natural and it feels right?
Yes.
Without it being forced.
Yeah.
And that takes doing a few songs probably in modes and playing with it. You saying that brings to mind that I mentioned this on the podcast a while back. The music theory iceberg video.
Yes.
I think that was a David Bennett one as well, where he just went through every little layer, and then deeper you go, it's like, I know that. Never heard of that before. Oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of others, never heard of that before.
Yeah, well, there's so much to learn, and it's even after close to 10 years of doing this podcast, I'm still learning, and I think next year's challenge is going to be challenging. It's going to be a tough one. If we are going to do what I think we're going to do.
What you mentioned last time?
Yeah.
Keep it under wraps.
It's going to be awful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last Listener Song episode, everyone was doing it.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's true. Something I have not done, so it'll be a challenge for me.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, it's one of those things that, again, you got to do it a couple times, and then you sort of... It's not a question of bringing it to your consciousness, but then doing it by intention, and then getting back to doing it.
Yeah.
Not by accident, but because it just feels right.
Yeah. Well, you want to bring it out of your brain and into your hands.
Yeah.
So it just becomes another tool.
Yeah.
It's
one of those things that you do, and it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. And blah, 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 blah. Oh, and then someone else says, oh, you just transmuted into a different mode. I'm like, okay. Yeah. You know what? I did. Didn't really think about it, but yeah, that's what I did. Because I did it enough times that I know it.
Yeah.
And how that sounds and how it works.
Yeah, it's like anything, just got to do it and try to get better.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. That is all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to all our awesome listeners. You guys are great. Thank you so much, and we look forward to doing this challenge again next year. And like Phil says, it's going to be a toughie once again.
You're not going to like me, but...
yeah, you're going to love us. But we do want to hear from you, so please send us your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mention on the show on our resources page on the website. And please visit us our next monthly Song Talk meetup, whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil
at philemery.ca.
Awesome. And be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing. Ooh. Awesome.
Yeah, what a great stuff, man.
Yeah, really, really good songs.
Yeah, like really good stuff.
You know what just got in the mail yesterday?
What's that?
One of these.
Oh, cool.
I haven't got one of these in a while. I think the last time I was at Long and McQuaid, I noticed they had my address wrong because I moved like a year and a half ago.
Oh, right.
Right, so they're probably sending it to my whole place for the last 2 years.
I wonder if I'll be getting one.
If you've updated your address with them. But I don't know. It feels like a relic from the past to be flipping through a music catalog.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you flipped through a music catalog? Everything's online now. You just search it and done, right?
But I liked it. You know, I was thinking back in the day when I first got into, forgot my job and I needed to know more about Macs, and I was reading all the Mac magazines, and it was so cool because every now and then there'd be like new shareware, and it was so cool. It was just, I was excited every time a new one came out, and you don't get that with online stuff, and that's, people don't want to pay for it, so it's not really a viable business anymore.
Yeah, and it made me want. I mean, this is a thing. Well, this is the gear issue. Right? Yeah. So like it's fair. It's a lot of pages. I mean, the first half is all guitar stuff. Yeah. And then they get in the microphones and the DJ equipment, and then the keyboards and synthesizers and more microphones and mixers and like
anything there?
Drums.
Anything you want to? Anything you want to get? Or
sure, there's lots of stuff I want to get.
But what?
I'm not like, I wasn't driven to like, ooh, I want to buy that. No, nothing. I spend all my money on plugins now.
Well, that's true.
But that's the other news with the latest Cakewalk stuff is that Cakewalk finally announced today the final version of the free version of Cakewalk.
What does that mean?
Like the final updated, it was a bunch of bug fixes, really was all it was. But like today's release, and then in the future, if you have a previous release, it still needs to be authorized by BandLab. Not authorized, but you need to register it with BandLab and re-register it every once in a while.
Okay.
So it has to be online sort of thing. But if you don't have this latest version, then it won't work anymore because it won't be authorized by BandLab.
Oh, no.
Right. And which means that sometime in the next few months, they're going to be dropping the flagship Sonar product, which is now going to be a paid product.
All right.
And because this latest version of this final version of the Cakewalk for BandLab, the free version, was just bug fixes, I figure they're saving all the feature updates.
Of course, yeah.
For the paid version, right?
Yeah.
But they are also releasing something called Cakewalk Next, which is sort of like a stripped down version. It's sort of like GarageBand.
Oh, cool.
I think it's a very easy to use desktop thing, but they're actually releasing a Mac version as well, as far as I understand it.
Wow, that'll be cool.
Which is kind of interesting because if for some reason you're on a Mac and you don't like GarageBand, you could probably try this one. Although that one's going to be I think that one's going to be a paid product as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see BandLab finally moving ahead with this Cakewalk thing. And I mean, it's not like, I mean, they've had it for like the last 3 years, and they've added so many features.
Yeah.
The arranger track, the tempo track, articulations like for orchestras, like articulations for like different, what do you call it, for the different picazzo and spizzicato and all that sort of stuff, right? And you can do maps for that now, and it's very much easier to use than it was before. And like they actually, put a lot of features when they were just giving it away for free constantly.
Yeah.
And like, when you compare what they have now, the free version versus the last paid Sonar edition when Gibson had it,
Yeah.
like 4 years ago, it's miles better than it was then.
Gibson's not good. They're just every time. I don't know why they buy anything, because they destroy everything they buy, and I'm just going what's the point? Like, if you're gonna buy something, then let it work. But they just take it and they kill it. And I'm going, what the hell was that for?
I mean, Gibson had it for a few years. They did make incremental improvements.
Yeah.
When Gibson, when compare the latest Gibson one to the one when Roland had, it was way better. I mean, Roland did a good job of improving it as the years went on too. Gibson did improve it. It's just that they dropped it without
which they do
with the warning or whatever, and left everyone in the lurch.
Yeah. So do you use Sonar, right?
Right now I'm using Cakewalk by BandLab. It's not called Sonar.
Okay.
It's been called Sonar since Gibson had it, but now BandLab is releasing a product called Sonar.
Sonar, right? Okay.
Which is going to be a flagship paid thing, and they're probably going to throw lots of third-party plugins in it again, and stuff like that, which was missing from the free version. So I'm going to look at it. I'll see. They say it's going to be relatively affordable, and there's even a hint that those of us who had Sonar licenses back in the day will get a bit more of a discount on the Sonar now. They're under no obligation whatsoever to carry those licenses forward from Gibson. They did grab all those emails and all those authorization codes and things like that, so they know who we are.
Yeah.
Right. And all you gotta do is produce one of your serial numbers or log in, and you're kind of there and whatever. So we'll see. Maybe they add features that I don't care about, and I'll just continue using the free one. I don't care.
That's it. Because
works for me.
Yeah, if it works, then it's great having all these new features. But I mean, how many of the features do you already have that you don't use?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones that they added, I've been using the tempo track. I've been using the arranger for sure. I've been using the arranger features. I even used the articulation map things when I was doing a little bit of orchestral stuff, and I will use that again.
Yeah.
So the features they added were definitely rich and sorely needed in this program as they were there before. That sort of thing. But we shall see. It's exciting times.
That's really cool.
The Facebook groups and the forums are lit up with all sorts of people making presumptions and worried and is it not going to be free anymore? What's going on?
I mean, if as long as the old one works with various Windows updates, that's the
that's going to be the kicker, because they won't update the free version anymore. So it will. I mean, it'll work for at least another decade. Come on.
Yeah, Windows is really good with backwards compatibility.
Yeah, because you can run it in compatibility mode, whatever. It'll probably still run. No one's all that excited to go to Windows 11. I'm still on Windows 10.
Yeah.
I'll go to Windows 11 when I absolutely have to, but whatever.
Probably when you get a new machine.
Maybe. Even then, I'll probably just still use the same license, because I always build my own machine, so I install my own OS.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Right. I have Windows 10 on a USB stick. Pop it in. 20 minutes later, it's installed and ready to go. Right.
And as long as it gets security updates.
Yeah. That's the other kicker. That'll be the point where you're forced to, is when security updates stop.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Microsoft has even announced when they're going to stop doing that for Windows 10.
Well,
I feel like they're not even that excited for everyone to move to Windows 11. They haven't really been pushing it that much, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's they've gotten into an interesting point, because I've heard they started to put ads in the OS itself in Windows 11.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that in Windows 10 yet.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that, but I'm just going. Really? I think like you don't need any more money. It's not like.
Yeah.
I don't know why they would do that, but.
Yeah, and there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to disable all this stuff.
Well, that's true too.
All the junk you don't want.
Yeah, that's the worst thing, is all that bloatware that all the they put on your computer that you have to take off. Which is a drag.
Well, and then that's usually the other like Dell or HP or whatever. They put a lot of their software that's you know, it's part. I mean, that's not the only reason I build my own machines, but I buy the parts, I put it together, and I download Windows directly from Microsoft.
Yeah.
Throw it on a USB key, install.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
So
well,
cool.
Well, it'll be an interesting approach to see what you think of the new Sonar.
Yeah, we'll see. It might be a couple of months now before they release it. Or
Did they give an idea of pricing?
No, they just said it's going to be affordable.
Okay.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because it's Logic is $250. You can rent it like $5 a month now or something.
Oh, really? Okay, it's a pretty good deal actually. For Logic's a pretty good program. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people use it, and it's.
Yeah, Cubase, to buy Cubase new, it's like $800 or something.
Yeah, Cubase is quite expensive. I remember Sonar back in the day. It was like good $500 if you wanted to buy it brand new. I bought it new on a student account. So I got it cheap, and then the upgrades after that were like $100 a year, $100 every couple of years, kind of thing.
That's what Cubase is. Well, like once you buy it, then the updates aren't terribly horrible, and you wait for a sale, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. Same thing with Native Instruments. Bought Native Instruments Complete 8 way back in the day for like $700.
Yeah.
After that, it's like $150 maybe maximum for another
that's
update,
fine.
Which is okay.
Yeah, there's a new version of Cubase. I don't think I'll get it right now because I don't know. What I have is fine. It doesn't really. Yeah.
But there's lots of other options out there for free DAWs, Bitwig and Reaper.
Yeah. Even
though Reaper's not technically free. But even a lot of people, when Gibson abandoned Sonar, I think a lot of people have poured over to Studio One, which is supposed to be really good.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
And Studio One is not $600 or anything like that. It's like $250 or something like that. It's not huge, depending on the version, I suppose. But yeah, there's a lot of options out there. There's no excuse not to do anything.
Yeah. Well, and Reaper apparently is very good. But
I tried Reaper the very last a long time before Gibson abandoned it. I was like, oh, the next Sonar upgrade is going to cost me $150. What if I just use Reaper?
Yeah,
so I didn't want to spend that. I tried downloading it, and I'm pretty good. Like I'm pretty tech savvy. I could not get Reaper talking to my audio interface at all. It did not.
Oh, really?
It did not. And I even went as far as uninstalling Cakewalk. I took out Sonar completely. Thought maybe there's an interference here. It wasn't running or anything like that.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I just could not get Reaper to talk to my interface. I'm like, if it can't talk to my interface, forget it.
Oh, yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
It's very bizarre because I know obviously tons of people have this interface, and it's just a Focusrite interface. It's not.
Yeah, it's nothing weird.
It's nothing weird. The driver was there and everything. Like, I don't know why Reaper just did not. Maybe there was some funny configuration in my Windows, or I don't know what, but I just could not get it talking to my interface no matter what I tried.
Oh, well. Yeah, I haven't really tried Reaper. I know Cubase, so that's what I'm just using. Yeah. That's what I use because, it's the interface is, or my DAW is not my problem.
No.
Just getting stuff finished.
Yeah, exactly. I was not going to help you songwrite.
Yes, my problem is my own operating system, which is...
Yeah. Hasn't had an update in how long?
Hasn't had a lot. I don't think it's going to get an update, and may not be any more bug fixes either.
I'm still carrying a bug that needs fixing.
Oh, wow. That's been kicking your ass for a while.
Oh, my God. It's getting better. It is getting better. It's when I talk a lot that the coughing comes up. I'm sitting just doing my work during the day. I'm not talking, so I feel like my cough is getting better. But then...
Ooh, well, it wasn't too bad today, so...
Yeah. It's fine.
All right, well, I will get to this, get this edited, and off to you.
Awesomeness.
All right. Well, you have a great weekend, and say hi to Emma.
Yeah, say hi to Heather, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye.
Cheers.